Hey guys, welcome back to the kitchen renovation that's gotten way out of control. Today, we're gonna start working on where to put the end of this wall. We put that header in there a little while ago, and we have to close that up just a little bit. The reason being is I'm standing on our dining room table right now, and it's just a little bit unsightly to have to eat while looking at a toilet. So if we close off that wall, we'll hide that a little bit. The compromise is we don't want to close it off any more than we absolutely have to, but we have to close it off a little bit. Flint desperately wants to come into this space and get dirty, and I keep telling him to go away, but he's sure he belongs here. So, I mean, if you look at this now, toilet, 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 you can see toilet pretty much if you were sitting at our table from any seat the whole time. We're trying to minimize that. So I'm gonna go show you what we've sort of worked out as far as spacing for this. Let me find a tripod. If I set you up here to look at that wall, I'm gonna put this 2x4 in where I've kind of worked it out. Right about there. Someone stole my tape measure. So near as we've figured out, you stay put. If I run this 45 inches from that wall, once drywall's on, it'll be a 44-inch opening. So right there, roughly speaking, this is all just for visualization purposes. Put that there, and then I use this old closet door just sort of to hide the space. So now that's a wall, right? And when we start looking at that, now you can't see the toilet from right where you're sitting. That space is still just shy of 4 foot open. And over here, it's all nice and clean. And then if you stand right there for a split second, you can see the toilet and then it's gone. You can still see into the bathroom from in the kitchen. You can see the sink, but the toilet is the gross part, right? So from right here, for one little space, you can see it. And that's really the compromise we've made. So what I need to do next is mark out on the floor where 45 inches from here is to there. And if you just look at the base of that 2x4, you kind of get an idea of this is where that closet wall used to be. We're going to cut it all the way back to that corner and buy us that much more space, which actually feels like a lot. So what I have to do is cut a line from that plate over to that corner and then cut it back here. And all this hardwood floor is going to have to get patched up because it's all tore up underneath there. So we'll pull some of this wood out. We'll put a new plate down, and we'll put a stud on the corner, and then we'll put one more stud 16 inches from that one, and we'll have our new wall all ready to go. Vacuumed out this whole channel here so that would sit down nice and tight. And if I did this right, that should be at 45. Boom. So this will get secured, and then this will go on top of it and tied down into that other plate that's behind it to kind of make things lock together a little bit better. Ouch. Same thing bit me. I have never struggled with a bit so much as the one that came with this bucket of screws. That stayed exactly on my mark. That's fantastic. There. That got me what I wanted. I like it. Hey guys, welcome back to the kitchen project. In the intro, you saw me taking out the stuff that was still blocking the staircase. There was that forehead crushing sort of bulkhead as you come down the stairs. Now that's gone, and the two studs that came out of the wall next to the stairs. So now you've got a stair and a half exposed off on this side. You can't really see it now because I immediately walled it back up. I kind of put a false stud in there just to hold the plastic out and around it, but that keeps the mess from getting into the side of the house that we're still living in. But holy crap, did that make a difference. There's a couple of pictures here for you to see. It really opened up the room that much more, and coming down the stairs, it seems like you're stepping into more open space and you're not quite so claustrophobic coming down the steps. And hopefully that also helps a lot more airflow go up and down these steps so that we have more of that cool and hot when we need it, being in the top floor that struggles a little bit. So between the insulation that is coming and the new airflow, less restricted airflow, hopefully that makes a really big difference there. We're gonna have electrical going on soon, but before that, we're gonna get the windows installed. Hopefully that's just later this week. And before that, we're gonna finish fixing a couple of the rafters over here, and we're going to take and replace this header so that we can come all the way to the wall so that this short little wall can come out, and this whole thing will be a little bit more open, because just like over in the last doorway that I opened in the last video, this, if you're carrying a laundry basket through here, is kind of hard on elbows. So that's going to get opened up quite a bit more and make this space a lot easier to get through. I'm waiting on some help to arrive before I can work on that. So I'm going to start trying to peel up the old crappy linoleum kitchen floor in the meantime. If you remember from last week, we took all of these points on the floor that were actually showing us where ceiling lights are going to be. And we used a laser to transfer them, there's one right there, up into the ceiling to mark those locations. So now all of this is transferred up to the ceiling where it needs to be, and I can take this nasty floor away. Now we have the top floor right now, and then we have the subfloor before. If we sneak over here, you can see that is actually the lowest floorboards that are covering up the floor joists underneath there. We're not going to take this up yet, because then we're going to have all this debris raining down between the cracks in those boards, and I don't want that yet. Plus this and that are all tied together, all nasty like, and we're just getting started. It's going to take a lot of work to get it all done, so we're going to do one layer at a time. So if we look real quick, we have the linoleum, then we have 1/4 inch OSB, then we have more linoleum, then we have more some kind of substrate, and it's all nasty and terrible, and it doesn't really like to come up. The way we're going to get through all this is I have my metal cutting circular saw here, and I'm using that in case I run into some nails. And I have the blade depth set to just a hair deeper than the thickness of this whole mess. And I'm going to take this and just start running lines across this floor to break it up. So it's not one giant sheet. It's going to be a bunch of smaller panels that I should be able to scrape up a whole lot easier. Hopefully. Well, unfortunately, I'm already abandoning this little side quest. I kind of thought if I could get through a couple of layers of stuff. That'd be one more job done that I don't have to do later on, since I kind of am at a momentary standstill while I'm waiting for help to arrive to work on the heavier stuff. The problem is there are staples every 3.5 inches in this entire thing, every single spot. So the idea would be you could take a scraper and slide it up underneath stuff, underneath this, and just rip this whole thing out. And then I have at least one even floor throughout here that I can save till last when we're ready to rip it out. Because the issue still stands that once I take the subfloor out, then we have great big cracks between the boards that make up the floor, the subfloor, the under subfloor. Again, yell at me in the comments if you have an idea of what I'm supposed to call the boards, under the boards, under the board, under the laminate, under the board, under the laminate, under the tile, fake tile. There were so many layers here. This was a little prettier than this, for sure. That horrible, horrible orange. But then I don't have one laying here. The stuff that was above this wasn't much better. And rather than peeling anything up, they just kept stacking stuff up. Regardless, I'm going to abandon this for now because it's going to be a pain to do and a pain to clean up after, because a floor full of this many staples is going to poke feet and keep stuff from sliding around and keep me from sliding around. And I'm going to find something smarter to do with my time. And then when we're ready to actually rip this all the way up and go all the way down to the under subfloor and start working on the real tile, then we will do the same strategy, take the saw and cut all the way down that much further, this must be 1/2 inch, maybe even 5/8. We'll cut all the way down through that and pull everything up out of here, a 2 foot by 4 foot chunk at a time, and not mess with layer upon layer upon layer. So it's time to move on to something else. Well, update time. My father-in-law made it over late yesterday afternoon, and we got the header put in over here. And this is going to be the last big structural change that we're going to have to do. This header's in now. It's fully supported on both ends, all the way into the wall, actually against the exterior wall with cripples underneath it. And this whole thing is now loose, and I can take that out, which is going to open this thing up. Again, the cabinets are going to come out to about the edge of the window, so it's not like you can come in the outside door and turn the corner really sharp. But it's going to open this whole thing up to seem like it's a lot bigger. Also, I do have to add another stud and a little bit. I'll show you here in just a second. I have to bring this out enough to match the wall that's on the inside here. So we're going to start ripping the rest of this stuff out of here that I can get off of it and start cleaning everything up. I kind of want this place as clean as possible because we're nearing the end of the mess-making side of things. And we've got the air conditioner going now, and it's hot and it's terrible. So the less filth I have blowing around, the better. But real quick, let's just peek around this corner. So we just sort of placed a stud roughly where we wanted it to be, but we want it to come and match this edge of this door frame right here. So with a level, I drew a line, and that is exactly where it is. So we're going to cut this off as straight as we can, following this edge over here. The Sawzall blade will just ride down this, and then we're going to build the studs out to be perfectly flush with that so that that corner is nice and clean. That's way better. Just have to cut this out a little bit here, flush with that, and then I think we're done. Well, what do you think of that? Huge improvement over the closed off doorway that we had here before. You can kind of tell by the floor again. This wall used to come out to about there where my foot is, so we gained 10 inches here. and then this whole wall is gone. Now there is going to be, like I mentioned, a countertop. So let's put that right about there. So that's a little bit higher than that, not quite that far out. Something like that. That's going to be the corner of the kitchen counters that go in. But then this whole space above it is wide open, and this big doorway is wide open. And this is just so much better than it was. Got the little spacer in here and got that stud in there, and I left just enough thickness on this edge that a sheet of drywall, a piece of drywall, will come out flush with this face. That way when we retrim this door, it'll sit across there flush, and everything's going to be hunky-dory. So this is looking great. I am getting hot. Coming up, the next big thing is going to be the windows. Next time my father-in-law comes over, we're going to start putting windows in these holes and framing for the new bigger window that we've got coming. And in the meantime, while I'm waiting for him, I'm going to start putting electrical boxes where they need to go. I have a whole box, a couple of boxes full of electrical stuff. I still need to get a couple more cans. But boxes and boxes and spools of wire and staples and wire nuts. And I'm going to start hanging boxes and start routing wires, drilling holes, running them where they need to go, so that when my electrician buddy comes back, we can really hit the ground running, and I can do the more mindless stuff, and he can be here to help me with the smart person stuff. So anyway, thank you for watching. Thanks for keeping up with the project. If you haven't, if you don't know what I'm talking about at all, there's going to be a link. There's a whole playlist worth of these. Go back to the beginning and see where this started, because holy crap, this is a huge difference from where it was before. But thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next week, I guess. I need an ice bath. I need to go lay on the basement floor naked where it's really cold. I didn't push stop yet.